Did you know that offshore wind power is not clean, is not really net zero, and is extremely dangerous economically and, of course, environmentally? But that's not what the establishment told us, did they? Well, as you guys know on this channel, we've regularly exposed a lot of issues with the establishment narrative. Recently, we've talked a lot about the problems with solar panels. We've talked about the wind turbines, the blades that can't be recycled. This one is about offshore wind power that isn't clean or green, and it doesn't cut CO2 emissions as promised. This is according to Craig Rucker from the Real Clean Energy. Now, Craig has written an article doing a lot of research on this issue, and we discovered a number of problems. For example, it talked about the state of New York, saying electricity to power New York on a hot summer day would require 30,000 megawatts. That means 2,500 Halliday X12 megawatt offshore turbines and all the materials that go into them. Powering the entire US would require 100 times more than that. These numbers are huge, but the situation is actually getting much worse. Now, the Halliday X as a technology, this was especially 5 years ago, they were all very excited about it, and they were all saying that this is going to change everything and it's completely net zero. There's no such thing, by the way. You cannot have something that's completely net zero. You cannot have something that's completely clean or green, because some powers have to be sourced from somewhere, and certain things can't be recycled. And of course, a lot of times you have to go to Africa and use child labor. So that's also another issue. Anyway, a new study by energy analyst David Wojcik devastates this repeatedly invoked justifications for offshore wind when it comes to CO2 emissions, saying how offshore wind drives up global carbon emissions, explains why adding offshore wind to our energy mix will likely increase global CO2 emissions. So first, he actually talks about any local CO2 reductions from offshore wind turbines will be small anyway, because they're intermittent wind and forced gas-fired backup power plants we rely on now into up and down generations. So firstly, you have to have, as I said, alternative sources to ensure that you have the backup for the so-called recyclable and renewable energy. So they can't just function on their own, because you can't fully rely on wind or solar, and you need the infrastructure. Second problem is that building huge offshore wind facilities require mining, processing, smelting, fabrication, installation, repair, replacement, decommissioning, landfilling. But that's another problem. And transportation. Every step of the way, almost everything up to installation is increasingly done overseas, nearly 100% with fossil fuels and few emission controls, especially when it comes to Africa and India. So are you telling me these corporations have supervisors going to those continents and say, all this the child slavery that you're doing, and can you make sure at least you're cutting CO2? No, you can't, because you need fossil fuels as the main energy source to mine and process those things, create the installations, and then send it to America or Europe for the white champagne socialist liberals to enjoy their lives and feel that they're making a difference while going to Waitrose and buying more avocado that comes from a different continent. I mean, are you kidding me with this? So it's not clean or green, and it's completely damaging the economy as well. In addition, Craig says a no fossil fuels economy would require not only electricity generation, but electric vehicles and home heating, water heating and cooking, all dependent on wind and solar, and batteries that must be charged constantly by those same sources. That means that today's electricity requirements and raw materials demands would have to be doubled or tripled to run a net zero society. Well, that's completely impossible. You cannot do it. And also, you still need backup. You always need backup sources. If you're going to completely shut down everything that is fossil fuel or the natural gas that we have, or oil, as we said, you can't function as a society. Forget about people's bills for a second. That's going to go up anyway. Forget about all that. We're talking about sustainability. Now, the people who came up with these ideas to diversify portfolios of each country when it comes to energy sources, fine. I'm in favor of diversifying options. Use everything. Don't create government mandates. Don't take people's money and print more money to do it. If innovation is going to come up with some sort of new technology, just do it. Let it happen. People would choose to have solar panels and wind power and nuclear and gas and oil. Let people decide. Have all the options on the table, then you can have a sustainable country. But that's not what they want, is it? Because you can't control people if they can make up their own decisions. You need to control people if you put fear into their lives, and they will choose security, authority. That's what you do if you want to control the public. Let me know your thoughts. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.